Jeffrey Katzenburg revived Disney by producing some of their biggest hits. Aladdin, I Can Show You the World. The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, The Little Mermaid. Look at this stuff. Isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think my collection's complete? Over, under, and sideways on a magic carpet ride. He took us all on a magic carpet ride. He literally was the soundtrack and the movie track to many of our childhoods, if you were in your 30s and 40s. And still, his movies are relevant today, just being remade. But he wanted a raise. He felt like he'd proved his worth. He felt like he had put in the work to make some of Disney's dreams come true. But they played him for Boo Boo the Fool, and they said, we will not compensate you. Then they fired him for having the audacity for even asking and speaking up authentically for exactly what he knew he was supposed to receive for the work he did do. But Jeffrey Katzenburg did not let that get him down. He vowed to get revenge somehow and founded DreamWorks. And Shrek was born. And Fiona and Madagascar and El Dorado. A golden road. They wouldn't pay him for making their dreams come true. So he was pushed out of the nest because he had other magical dream work to do. Greetings, guys. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Monette. This is my channel, Evolve with Monette. For those of you that are new here, I'm a professional intuitive empath. It's so good sharing energy with you today. For those of you that are guided to work with me, in the description box below, you can find whatever you need to connect with me at my website. I want you to pray about that if it's meant for you. Don't just impetuously do it. Really see if you're guided to. And beyond that, thank you for inviting me in. Thank you for coming in. Sit a spell for a minute and let's chat. I thought this was a brilliant lesson. My angels always task me to make the detriment into the blessing. That's how we transmute this energy. And I thought, my God, if this is not the empath story, right? Here is this natural creative operating out of his sacral and solar plexus, amazingly bringing our dreams to reality, crown chakra completely open, Jeffrey Katzenburg. And he knew his worth. But the company who had benefited by billions, not just millions. Think about the profit. Think about some of us that watched these cassettes on VHS when we were kids, and now we're playing them for our kids and for some of our grandkids, depending on what age range you're in. These things have been part and parcel of our life, and he was the one that brought them to life. And yet, they didn't want to compensate him properly, and then were pissed that he had the audacity. And I said, my God, today, this is the empath story. This is the empath story. This is an allegory that we know too well, that we will be in people's lives, creating beautiful things for them, helping to up-level, helping growth, helping their dreams to come true. Empath, we do not get that name, and we do not have the issues with autoimmune disease if we're not feeding into other people and maybe doing a lot of people pleasing. So Jeffrey had his season of doing that. He was incredibly successful, but they still wouldn't compensate him. Can you relate? They still wouldn't give him his just due. Instead, they repaid him in hate. And he said, I see you and I raise you. And he took his creativity in a new direction and created a new pathway. I always say this because the angels always tell me to make sure you guys remember you are the sauce, you are the dressing. Jeffrey Katzenburg was, in fact, the blessing. excuse me, he was the blessing. He had the sauce, he had the dressing. He makes magic. And what's so interesting is if you look at those first 4 films that I mentioned, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King, The Little Mermaid, it's such a different story path. I mean, similar, right? There's like the hero's journey, there's people being rescued, there's people coming of age, there's people finding themselves. Certainly, the moral stories that are told have similarities, but the visuals and the ideas couldn't be more night and day. We went from The Little Mermaid to Shrek, fairy princesses, and Aladdin and Jasmine contained in the palace with Jafar and Abu to Donkey to all of this stuff that's just so diametrically different than what we used to see. And I think that that's interesting because in one area of your life, or with a certain group or a certain family dynamic or a certain relationship dynamic, you may only be able to reach certain heights of creativity. And I would not say that the heights of creativity that he reached were anything to sneeze at, would you? These are integral parts of our childhood again, and our core memories. And yet he went on to make other magic that is just so different. But it's because he was pushed to make a difference. He needed something to not only compete as he vowed his revenge, villain arc era enacted for sure, righteously too. He needed to show them, I will not only outdo you, I will outdo me. Meaning Disney couldn't keep up, actually, because he was the idea guy. He was churning out these magical forays and worlds with these incredible scores and so many jobs. Think about the animators and the singers and the actors that you never see that are just wearing those costumes that have all the dots so that they can match it up with the green screens. It's incredible what he did. And yet and still, when he birthed out his new kids, the DreamWorks kids, it was so different. And had he not been pushed out of the nest and had a tower moment, for those of you that read tarot, he would not have owned it, meaning the new trajectory. And believe you me, there is nobody saying, no, Jeffrey, we can't give you more money at this point in his life. But he had to be pushed. I'd love to say he left. He was fired. And sometimes we have tower moments of which we're not prepared. Now, here's what I will let you know over here in this Empath Collective. The universe is always communicating with us, and our angels give us a year's heads up. The angels don't care about time, but they know that we do here on Earth. Our human selves care a lot about time. And so what they want you to understand is this. No matter what is shifting, okay, think about tectonic plates shifting before an earthquake. Before the earthquake happens, the tectonic plates shift. That happens long before the earthquake actually happens. It's getting ready. It's predicating. It's informing the earth, the world, that something is going to be changing. There's a seismic change and shift coming on the earth's crust. Well, in your spiritual life and in your actual life and in your work life and in your love life and in your friendship life and in your familial life, the same is true. There will be tectonic plates that shift that are there to warn you. Something is changing. Your angels know that we do not like time. We do not like, they know that we do not like change, and so we need a lot of time. Pardon, that's what I meant to say. And so what that means is that they will give you about a year's heads up from what I've noticed with my clients, and what I've noticed in my own journey, before the real earthquake, the real change, and the real shift comes our way, the tower moment. Now, this is very Saturnian, this lesson, because I think about our first, second, and third Saturn returns. And what happens is we get a lot of intuitive nudges to shift our behavior. I counsel a lot of people that are in their late 20s going into their early 30s, and they're at their first Saturn return. Now, that may be the time when a relationship is crumbling. They can't get the guy in college that they were dating forever to marry them, or the girl to marry them, or something's going on with their job and their internships. But everything seems to be coming apart. It's because there's a tectonic plate shift. and the angels are getting you prepared for it. The Saturnian lesson is, who are you from your previous tribal kind of projections, meaning your tribe will tell you who you are as you're growing. But when you become 28 and a half, that's the full rotation from the time that Saturn was in your chart. It takes 28 and a half years to come back to the place it was from the time you were born. And that's why we get approximately 3 if you live that long. But the thing about it is you are tasked to say, does this still fit? And if it doesn't, then are you ready to leave the nest of your own volition, or we're going to push you because you are supposed to evolve and grow into a new incarnation? That's why that Saturn return is so pivotal. Some people get married. Some people go to jail. Some people have babies. Some people write their first book. Some people make their first million. Some people lose their first million. Some people invest in real estate. Some people lose it all in the stock market. But there is something that happens that puts you into adulthood firmly. You're not an adult at 18, as we may think here in the States. You really come of age approximately about 28. That's when you're an actual adult. And the universal circumstances will align to make sure that you understand it's grown-up time, okay? It's grown-up time. Now, what that will look like is, you know that relationship isn't working, and then it starts to fall apart. Do you hold on with all of your naive heart, God bless your soul, or do you let it go and then end up in another relationship with someone who's far more suited for you than the person that you picked before you really knew who you were going to be and betrothed yourself to? Message, okay? Now, in Jeffery Katzenburg's stake, this was a Saturn return. It wasn't a Saturn return, excuse me. Ooh, I don't want to speak there. I don't know his actual dates that this happened, that he transitioned from Disney into DreamWorks. But I will say this. It was a Saturnian lesson. That is what I will say, sis. It was a Saturnian lesson for him. Because he heard the rumblings. I'm thinking of Nicki Minaj. You hear the rumblings. You hear the mumblings. They got him shook, panicking, okay? There are rumblings and mumblings. And people will be shook and panicking figuratively and spiritually and metaphorically in your life when things are changing. You know how before an earthquake happens, you'll notice all of the animals flee. The birds will start to fly a certain way. The animals that are on land will start to behave crazily because they can feel what we can't see. And the same is true for the periphery of your life. They are essentially the birds and the animals. Pay attention to how people are acting. Are your friends like, gosh, you just seem like you're so different? That's an indication a tower may be coming and you don't fit here anymore. We can't communicate in the same way as before. Or you're not interested. You personally, here watching, the querent, the asker, the observer, the empath listening, you're like, I am not even interested, attracted. I am so bored, whatever the case may be. That's time to shift, actually. That's what the universe is saying to you. That's what your angels are saying to you. But let's get it down to the science. You get about a year's heads up. So while I am not in Jeffery Katzenberg's life and I was not his advisor or reader, I can tell you that before he got fired, he knew it was time to shift. But he probably was not willing to listen to it, because sometimes when you're at the top of a mountain, you're thinking, I'm not climbing down from it. I do not want to get, it took me so long to get here, and this man's at the peak. Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Tale as Old as Time, like some of my favorite movies. I would say, love The Lion King, love it so much because I'm a Leo, gotta love it. But Beauty and the Beast, j'adore. There must be more than this provincial life. Yeah, that part. I loved it all. I related to it all. I wanted to embody it all, I think, like we all did. But that's the power of the stories that Jeffery Katzenberg told. He appealed to all of our inner kids. And so he's at the top of this mountain. And they're like, we're not going to pay you more. And he's like, freaking frack. So he probably didn't want to go, leave, and explore what else was out there. He just thought If I stonewall or hold out, surely they're going to crumble and bend, but instead they fired him. That's a tower moment. That scorpionic energy, if ever there was, crashing down on your head, like completely, it feels like blindsiding you from above, but I promise you, he heard the panicking, he heard the rumbling, he had him shook, panicking. He knew it was coming. He just thought, this can't be life. They would not treat me like this, right? Not me. Not the maker of dreams and the writer of Disney. Not the one that's breathed life into Walt's envisionment. They wouldn't let me go. It couldn't be. It isn't. It was. They did and did. That's what you guys need to understand. That tower will knock you off your ass. And if you're not willing to leave the nest of your own volition, your angels and ancestors will come with a strong wind at your back and they'll push you out of it, because you're going to have to learn how to fly. What I find fascinating about the Katzenburg story is not the previous side, the Disney side. It's the DreamWorks side. Think about the difference in those movies. Think about the ingenuity and the creativity. Think about the up level in the actual, animation, the pixelation. It was incredible. It was so different. It was breathtaking. It was mind-blowing. It was like something we had never seen. All of these Disney movies had been so lush and pristine. And then we get to Shrek and we're literally in the mud and the bogs, and yet he made it endearing. He was pushed and challenged when that tower hit to do something completely different, if only out of his villain arc era righteously. I will prove to you, Disney, you should have never fired me. And in fact, he did. Now let's bring it in to us, empath, our inner kids. How many times have you been rejected? How many times have you been disrespected? How many times has someone undervalued you and then projected that onto you because they undervalue themselves too? And then they're saying you should accept the least of what I'm giving to you instead of the most. I'm hearing the most, not the lesser. You should accept nothing. And you shouldn't even ask for more. Years ago, I worked for a Scorpio boss, ironically, who was an absolutely demonic person and practiced left-hand path, witchcraft, dark-sided energy, completely unapologetically. Literally would come in on the weekends and do witchcraft over our desk and tell us about it and whatever. And I know so many beautiful witches. That's not what I'm saying, guys, so please take no offense. She was evil as fuck. She was arcane. She was demonic, truly. The thing about it is I remember being like, I deserve a raise. I was doing this, I was doing that, and I was, an energetic heartbeat in the office, and I was like, I deserve a raise, I do. And I went in and I asked her, and she was like, women don't ask for raises, which was hilarious because she was so greedy. She was so avaricious. She would literally scam and steal and plot and scheme, and literally got fired eventually because she was so underhanded and dirty. And dark-sided. Not for the witchcraft, but for literally embezzlement, okay? But she said to me, women don't ask for raises, while she was a boss. I said, well, how did you get here? Well, I just, So she told me that I should come in and turn on lights and wash windows. I wasn't the janitor. I was a business office manager, but okay. I should come in and wash windows and turn on lights and get coffee for my boss. This was the crazy shit that she told me. Now, today we would laugh. We're appalled, right? Wow, femininity. We love to not see it. And she was also a Caucasian woman, and the reason I say that is because I'm a black woman. If you can't see me today, I am African American, or I am West Indian American, whatever you want to say. And it was just so degrading. Can you imagine? Like, you come in and clean up more and mop and wash floors and stuff, and one day then your bosses will notice you eventually, and maybe they'll give you a raise. And she never did. What she did bring me was her old Tupperware. Y'all remember Temptations from QVC? It was all the rage back in the day, and I was in culinary school at the time, and she bought me in her chipped and old Temptations bakeware. That was my race. How divine. Now, message. I had the audacity to ask, And so then I was targeted for that. Like, how dare you? After she brought me in the guilty, broken bakeware, then it was, and she would give me her old clothes too. That was real sweet. Anyway, we all do what we can do. My point is this: I had the audacity to ask for more because I deserved more. And what she did tell me beyond, saying come in and wash floors and become the janitor, even though that's not what we had all hired you for, she told me, how can I pay you for being everyone's best friend? I can't give you a raise for being everyone's best friend, Monette, because at the time, guys, fully transparent, I was still working in my field. I just wasn't owning it. So I had my 9 to 5 and I was afraid to take the leap. You guys get it? You see how this works? But the tower moment did creep and those tectonic plates did shift. I was afraid to take the leap. So I would be in the bathroom and people would be coming in and they'd be in tears and then end up doing a reading. I was channeling and working with my angels before I ever really was acknowledging it. And while I had a side hustle for sure, I wasn't doing a reading like y'all are paying me. I was giving it all away for free. Hashtag empath, autoimmune, direct pathway energy. Okay. I was giving away for free, but I couldn't help it because I can literally hear what's going on in people's energetic fields and sometimes audibly too. So I can hear what's going on. When I see the person sobbing in the corner, I know it's because they got into a fight with their boyfriend, and I know it's because their boyfriend stole the money to pay the bills because he's on drugs. No one tells me that. I just know. And sometimes I've learned how to tune that out as I've grown. But back then, I didn't know. I had zero boundaries, clearly, none. And I would hear everything. If the best way that I could describe it is a more quiet version of What Do Women Want? It's a movie with Mel Gibson. And he can hear all of women's thoughts, but it's not just women for me. I can literally, if I'm in the vicinity physically of people, hear. And I don't always tell that to people that I've soulmate dated and been in relationships with or been friends with. I never really explain to them the depths of how deeply I really can hear. So you can't be around me and be on fuckery because I hear you, I see you, and I perceptively, spiritually see you in a way that you probably don't want to be seen. Everybody thinks they want to be friends with a psychic and an empath. It's not always a dream, because it means that you have to be on your A game energetically. You have to be pure. You can't come to me with bullshit, because even if you get away with it for a minute, the angels just never let it rest and never let it sit. Anyway, back to my boss. So she's like, how can I pay you for being everyone's best friend? Now, here's the thing, guys. People will play in your face. Bosses, like Jeffery Katzenburg knows, right? People will play in your face even though you've helped their company grow. You've boosted the morale. You've done, you name it, right? And I did a lot for the company that I was with. Energetically, spiritually, and culinarily, like so many things. Y'all, I decorated bathrooms, I pimped out cubicles. I mean, I did a lot. And I also still got my work done. But see, that was the creative side of me. And it was all with permission, even from this crazy Scorpio boss who could barely contain her jealousy. But she was like, she wanted to penalize me because really it bothered her that a lot of people in the office would come to me and want advice or would ask me for a reading or like a word. And I didn't really understand, again, what I was doing. And it was absurd because I didn't really have boundaries at that time. And so she said that to me in the review, and I'll never forget it. But you see, everything that you think is meant to be against you is for you. That came full circle when I ended up literally getting paid beyond what she was paying me, which at the time was $10 an hour. And I worked there for approximately 10 years, and that's what she paid me, was $10 an hour. So that's why I never bow my head and kowtow when people may, bulk at whatever it is that I can make or what I make, because they don't know what I had to go through, for goodness sake. Never let anybody tell you about what your worth is, because they don't know what dues you paid, and they don't know what you've been through, and they don't know how people greatly undervalued you. And here's the thing: if God hired you, yes, Disney might be able to fire you, but who's really gonna fire you? Could Disney fire Jeffery Katzenberg's intuition and his creativity? Could Disney put a damper on his sacral and solar plexus, which were the birthplaces of his creativity? They couldn't. They couldn't. And even when they tried to squelch him out and squash him like a bug, he only turned into mulch, and he reflowered himself, replanted himself, repotted himself, and grew into something brand new. The same is true for you, empath. The same is true for you. When that boss said, I can't hire you for being everyone's I can't give you a raise for being everyone's best friend, she thought, I got a zinger. I really got Monette now. I've been really sick of how everyone's always telling me how Monette's advice them accurately and whatever the case may be. And it wasn't like during work hours. It could be on a, like I said, a bathroom break or a lunch break or whatever. But the problem is that she was sick of hearing my name. She was like, this bitch, you think so? Well, I can't give you a raise for just being everyone's bestie. And the feedback when I freelanced on the psychic lines, for those of you that are new here, that's something that I did do in my life for many years, was when I connect with this reader, I feel like she's my best friend. That part. You see, never rue the day, not only of small beginnings, but of beginnings where people are talking shit about you, where they're undervaluing you and acting like what you do is a detriment and that actually you're not good at it or you're a fool for it. I had a lot of narcissists tell me how naive I was to give away that energy and how people would always take advantage of me, but now I'm compensated properly. And that doesn't mean that people won't see you and try to get the most out of you. Hashtag the psychic lines, for real. The psychic lines can be quite predatory, but I understood my value and what I could do when I stood on my own. But that came full circle when that boss said to me, we not only will give you not a raise, because women don't ask for raise actually, and you should be more of a janitor. Totally. And then she also said, and we also can't give you a raise for being everyone's bestie. And the universe said, say less. Hold my beer. Hold my champagne. Hold my Aperol. Hold my gin and tonic. For me specifically, we're not only going to pay you for being everyone's bestie, we're going to give you a raise that no one could ever foresee, and we're going to pay you beyond properly, and we're only going to compound that energy for all of the years that you gave it out freely. See, where I am now and where you are now, empath, is not your final plateau. And that's what it is so important for you to know. Where Jeffery Katzenburg was when he thought he was at the top of the mountain before Disney had the temerity to let him go was not his final plateau. Now, exceeding billions and billions upon billions with the DreamWorks franchise. And if you combine his two thought childs of Disney and DreamWorks, it is absolutely wild. He is probably, quite literally, one of the most, probably top 3 most paid creators in the galaxy. Can you believe it? And they fired him. And they said, we can do better. We've got your formula, friend. But he was what? Say it with me, y'all. The sauce and the dressing. And so when they told him get to stepping, now they're just recycling. They made the Little Mermaid again. Again, and he's pumping out new NIG. That's what you need to understand when people are happy to set you free and they don't want to pay you your worth for being everyone's bestie. The universe said that will be the feedback that we give them later. Actually, the reason I give this reader 5 stars was my experience is because she makes me feel like she's known me for years. And it's not that I'm putting on airs. Y'all know me here. I'm colloquial, I'm friendly, you know how we chop it up and how we do. But that's a skill set that I honed in those bathrooms. When people were shitting on me, literally. When people were talking down on me badly. When people were treating me sadly. When they were behaving erratically. When they were steeped in their jealousy. I can't pay you for being everyone's bestie. Say less, sis. The universe will rectify it. But it came with a tower moment. You get it? I want you to understand that your tower moment will pivot you. It will take you into a stratosphere that you could not do on your own. And it's always great if you go quietly into the night, meaning you do it on your own. When the Saturn return happens in your 20s, going into your 30s, the universe is watching to see, are you going to leave the relationship even though it makes you feel like you'll never be able to breathe if you leave? Or are you going to leave Suck it up, Buttercup, and stand on business. And the universe and your angels and your guides reward when you stand on business, even when it sucks. Because they say, now we can give you beyond more than enough. Because you were subsiding on probably breadcrumbs. If Jeffrey Katzenburg, had the gumption to say, can you please give me some more pay? He knew that what he was doing was valued much higher than what he was probably asking. And when they said, we won't do it, he still hung on. That was his cue to go. Before they let him go, Saturn was saying, well, we've shown you this road. And the road actually is going to lead to El Dorado. You just don't know, which is a golden road, okay? Where there will be more seeds that you sow and more children that you stimulate and more adults' inner children that you heal. But we can't show you the big reveal. We are going to ask you if you will leave now before they make you feel like a heel. The universe was chatting with Jeffrey at the top of the Disney mountain. Can you please take your exit gracefully? Often in relationships, empaths, we are met with that intersection where we are tasked to take our exit gracefully. And we don't always have to have it be a tower. Even if you do exit on your own, it could still feel like a tower. But if you were the one to initiate it, no matter what anyone said around you, because they couldn't see, feel, or sense the tectonic plate shifting underneath you, and you exited before the quake began, then the universe says, we will bless you mightily, empath, for you took a real stand. You stood on business. You meant that shit. You didn't waver from it. You didn't kowtow. You didn't back down. But it takes a few lessons to learn and a few go-rounds with that scorpionic energy of endings, transformation, death, and rebirth, and with the Saturnian energy associated with Capricorn fathering lessons that take a long time. The divine is always working with you when people around you may be on demon time. And demon time means they run in packs. So there was a board that met to hold Jeffrey back. They petitioned, they talked about it. Does he deserve a raise? I mean, yes, he's given us the most incredible movies for days and days. But a group of demons decided, we can do it our own way. We've already got the formula. But what you didn't have was Jeffrey Katzenburg. Empath, I come to you today to tell you, you are the Jeffrey Katzenburg in your own way, in your own community, in your own relationship, in your own friendship dynamic, at your own job. You, as Ricky Bobby said, piss excellence. Let's talk about it. You piss excellence. And if you're not first, you're last. But see, people treat you like you're last. Well, what does the word say? The last shall be first and the first shall be last. So when my boss is playing in my face, talking about come in here, sweet janitor, shuck and jive in a mammy kind of way, and you clean up after all of us, and maybe we will give you a little bit of a raise, and bringing me her trash, the angel said, oh, but Monette's a treasure. We're going to do her one better. But I had to learn in that humility. I should have left immediately when she was playing with me, but I stayed, only for a tower to come my way. I want you to understand your angels are trying to give you a heads up. You got about a year when you feel the rumbling, when they're shook and it's panicking, before the tower is near. And the tower is never there to hurt you. It's only there to grow you. I want you to think about whatever stagnant situation you were in that was getting the freaking best of you. And think about how much better you feel when it's off of you. And you are able to be like, I made not only through the tower, I'm so grateful I'm out of that relationship. I'm so grateful I'm out of that job. I'm so grateful. If I would have believed what she said and believed her projections as she wanted to play with my head, as Scorpio energy rules other people's money, but also mind games, other people's money and mind games. And she played mind games with all of us, literally. And she literally would come in and be like, it's just like playing chess in here. Scorpio energy seemed to love chess. It's just like playing chess in here with you guys. She would play musical chairs with our cubicles because she knew that when we got comfortable, then we would be comfortable. And she just always wanted us to put a little perky in our turkey. That's what she would say to us as it's almost Thanksgiving. Well, I give thanks with a grateful heart to that lady. I want to thank you, lady, for the way that you did me, because she is an integral and pivotal part of what shifted my destiny. I needed her. God will set a table before you in the presence of your enemies. Come on, I'm talking to somebody today. She was sent in to talk to me any kind of way, just to say, we don't give raises to people just because you're everyone's bestie. And the universe said, test me. Let me find out. Monette's everyone's bestie. We're going to put a little bit more, not only energy, but clout and financial blessing to her, because she's doing what we call her to do. And you don't get to be the judge of it. Not any of you demons do. And the same is true for you. If you are listening, an empath or angel, I want you to know how people have overlooked you and played in your face. And God said, we literally put them in there because you were the main character in your own story. You're not the main character in everyone's story, but you are the main character in your story. And she was just playing a part. She was the main character in her story. Little did she know that all these years later, that I would be able to talk to a couple of 3 folks in this collective and say, someone tried the ever-loving life out of me, but it worked out so beautifully because the universe made her eat her words. Found out later, even though it blocked her on everything, that she would, through alternate pages, because I still was friends with coworkers that I had there, one specifically, that she would go on alternate pages to look me up. What? I thought you couldn't stand me. What are you talking about, Willis? She would look me up. Why? Because for the office space, I wasn't exactly Jeffery Katzenburg, but I bought a certain kind of energy, as we all do, to the people's lives we're in, the places that we work, and the lives that we touch. She would look me up. Why was she looking me up? I said to my ex-coworker friend. She said because she always wanted to check on you, because she just always knew that you would do amazing things. And she sees that you look happy and you're traveling. All things I could have never done with them putting the PTO around my neck like a yoke, with her giving me $10 and then hiring her son, who is far, far, far younger than me, and paying him twice as much happily. I could have never done. I would have been stuck in that stagnancy. So I was very happy to be Jeffery Katzenburg, figuratively speaking. And I want you to embrace that same energy for you. When people treat you badly and tell you what they won't do, and you're integral and your heart is pure and you're just trying to make it through this world, you're just trying to give out good energy, you're just trying to show up in the empath way and be an earth angel and a light worker to whatever way you see fit and whatever way you're called to. And that always doesn't mean being nice and naive and playing smiley. Now, my version of empath is I let people know when they're on some fuck shit. I call people out. I don't just look for people to call out, but I observe. When people are on some fuck shit, I say, oh, now you're ready to grow. I won't stay here to see what happens after, but grow you shall. That's my thing. And so it has evolved. But what I'm going to tell you is this. Sometimes that's the path that you're dispatched into, sis. If they're undervaluing you, then nod your head and say, okay, and let the universe increase your pay. It never fails. It never, ever, ever, ever fails. Also know your worth, and also don't let other people put you to work. Another lesson for another video. But when I went to the freelance place, I was just going to keep my head down and work. I had a really beautiful career trajectory there that I wasn't expecting until things shifted and the towers were hitting. And then I left again. The towers hit, y'all. The towers be hitting, okay? But I knew for the whole year, and that's maybe the big takeaway I want you to get. You get a year's heads up. I knew for the whole year before the towers started to hit at that place, the places I was freelancing for, and the places to one of the places I freelanced for, they literally made me the face of the second one, because they said, because of the work I had done, just quite honestly and to the point, because of the work I had done, because of the impact that I made, and because of the way that people felt connected when we read. But I was tested, battle tested and battle ready to become the person that I had to be in those moments. But they still were not trying to properly pay me. Real talk. Compensation matters. And they were making crazy money off of me, meaning charging literally $20 a minute at the moment that I left. $20 a minute for people to talk to me. And that's not what they were paying me. But what I'm telling you guys is people see your value. The people at Disney knew what they had in Jeffery Katzenburg. They knew, like, he is the golden goose that's laying the golden egg. They asked me to literally make commercials and do other things for a whole second company, sister company that they were starting. Solicited me, was sent literal production teams, the whole thing. I'm telling you, not a single lie. They did all of that. And they did it. Why? Because they knew what they had, but they still were trying to undervalue me real bad, real bad. And while it wasn't the same spit in your face that I received from that Scorpio boss about stay in your place and wash the floors and say yes, ma'am, and whatever, and we can't pay you for being everyone's best friend, they were playing in my face in a different way. And that's the thing. New levels, new devils. That's another thing I must have to say to you today. Because the way that they're playing in my face was differently. Like, you're so amazing and everyone loves you. And we've been talking about you in the boardrooms and putting me into meetings. And we wanted whatever, but still playing in my face about certain things. Have your artwork in the commercial, and we're just so proud of you, and you're a rising star. I bet. I bet I'm a rising star. But they still were trying to screw me. And also, the real reason that I left properly, and some of my clients can attest to it, is because of the fact that they started to play with my clients, and I don't play those games. It's one thing if you screw me, empaths, we could take a lot. But when they weren't grandfathering in my clients to the price range that I felt was appropriate for them, especially my long-term A1 day ones, I said, well, then forget me not. And absolutely, I'm out of here. Okay? So that's it. Sometimes the tower will hit and you'll get Jeffery Katzenburg and they will fire you. And sometimes you get to be the one, if you listen to the rumblings, you got them shook, panicking, you can be the one to exit gracefully. Either way, the angels and ancestors have intercepted, and not daintily. It's obstructive, it's big, it's cumbersome, it's clumsy, because they want you to get the point and say, there is more for you to create, there is more for you to dream, there's a new life for you to have. And even if it's not going exactly how you think it's supposed to immediately, we did this for the betterment of you totally and completely. Message. Empath, Earth Angel, my sweet light workers, you are the Jeffery Katzenbergs of a lot of your communities. And people will undervalue you to your face. If Jeffery could have just stayed, it was not meant for him to stay because other things had to be birthed. And that's another thing. Come on, words. Come on, angels downloads this morning. Another thing. There are people waiting for who you are becoming. This is one of my favorite Deepak Chopra quotes. There are people waiting for who you are becoming. Had he not been fired from Disney, we don't get Shrek. I thought life was nothing but fairy tale. Had he not been fired from Disney, we do not get we do not have Eddie Murphy iconically voicing Donkey. We do not have Puss in Boots, Antonio Banderas. We do not have, was it Cameron Diaz? Was she Fiona? We do not have this time capsule of these brilliant actors and actresses, because he was always destined to do this. And this was the next thing. And this was out of his purview. And it took an internal rage and a vow for revenge and a villain era that he was born into in order to bring to fruition the thing that he was waiting to become. But people were waiting for who he was becoming, and he had to run from Disney. He would never have chosen that, I'm sure. Top of the mountain, treated like a king, to talking down to him like a peasant, and not appreciating the beautiful trinkets of gold he did bring. And he said, say less. The universe said, say less. Now watch him work, watch him wit, watch him nay over here at DreamWorks in a different kind of way. But it was destined for him to do that. Some of the relationships that you're supposed to leave, you were supposed to leave because they weren't going to continue to work with you. and it was only bringing down your vibration, and you had other work to do. I had countries that I was supposed to see. I had new people that I was supposed to meet. I had new friends and new tribes members and men and women that I was supposed to intersect with demurely, cutesy like, right? But if I would have stayed in that job, I would have been played out of my destiny. I have had such an amazing life. I know why she's doing a little bit of the look back, look see. What's Monette up to? With the other company that I left, I can't make this up. I can't make it up. With the other company that I left, one of my bosses was, when I say bosses, I freelance, but the people that were in the corporate structure stayed on my Facebook page, which I did not really love. And I'm not a big Facebooker, y'all. I post a few times a year just to document life, but that's it. In any case, I noticed that the last time I was on Facebook, which was several months ago, and I posted something. This is a person who was part of the corporate structure that was playing in my face and playing in my client's face, that I had built my clientele at that place that I was freelancing at. And she left me a message, and I thought, this is why you take every tower moment that comes into your life and know that you're the Jeffery Katzenburg in your communities. She said to me, I love checking in to watch your enchanted life. Pardon? Y'all were just trying to unenchant it. Y'all were trying to not compensate me properly. Y'all were literally making millions off of me for the years that I was there. I'm not exaggerating. And you would let me know and play in my face so sweetly, so demurely, so cutesy. But now you're telling me on my Facebook, now that I have unyoked myself from the burden, and you're telling me, wow, I love watching your enchanted life as you travel the world and you do your thing, girl. Yeah, because the angels and the ancestors had something else in store. But if I would have just been complacent, because it's scary to leave security, quote unquote, but I learned nothing is secure. The work that I do is not for the faint of heart. For a lot of you guys that are very focused on, like, you got to know what's coming in. And my mother was like this, and this is why I say it. No offense to anybody that does this. I have worked many 9-to-5s. But the thing about it is, when you look at content creators and stuff like that, and you're like, oh, what are you really doing? What we're really doing sometimes is clenching our butthole. I'm not sorry to be so graphic, but that's what we're doing, because we don't know what life is going to be. We're bouncing, we're budgeting, we're talking to our CPA, we're praying that we're going to make the money that we need to make to pay the things we have to pay and to live the way we want to live. And there's a cost to it. There's an investment in it. And it's not for the weak of heart. It's not for the faint of heart. But it also, because being in those places where I freelance, and I could go back to any one of them anytime, but and they've asked me back actually, but being in those places where I freelance meant that I was out of alignment with the divine. I was not supposed to do that. My angels and ancestors wanted me to have the schedule that I have, to do the work that I do, to write the things that I write, to tell you about the things that I tell you. And there's supposed to be more of it. So the point of that is, you never know when you're staying stuck and small someplace, what more they have in store for you, kid. And it's not for you to just be in the same place. Even if you're at a 9-to-5, but you want a better 9-to-5, girl, go that way. Go your own way. Let Fleetwood Mac call you into your next destiny. There is an evolution that your angels are calling you into, but it starts probably with a tower moment that you want to avoid most likely, and you're not supposed to. You are Jeffery Katzenburg, but the winds of fate it may seem like at times toying with you, but really they're at your back to catapult you into a new place where the people that are waiting for who you are becoming will be so happy to see your face. I want you to understand how important you are, and how much in any relationship and in any job and in any space you may have inhabited, you brought light and expansion and levity. You may not have always been the best, right? Meaning, you dealt with stuff. You had bad days. You might have been depressed. I know I certainly was. But the block spins that I get from old co-workers to this day that still reach out to me, it just boggles my mind. I don't remember birthdays like that. But to this day, old co-workers from that space of $10 an hour for 10 years reach out and say the most sweet things to me. You're still my favorite coworker. I had such a blast with you. You leave an indelible mark wherever you go, guys. You are Jeffery Katzenburg, and you have new work to do, new dream works to do. So it's okay if you fired someone or if they fired you. That's not the end of your story. My favorite song from Frank Sinatra, the best is yet to come. Out of the tree of life, I just picked me a plum. Sometimes that tower moment is the plum. And it's an indicator of the things that are yet to come. And if someone's playing in your face and acting like they're dumb, and treating you like you're Jeffery Katzenburg, but they can just find another one, let them start looking. Because I promise you, your position is a hard one for them to book. They can always take a look. It's in a book. It's reading Rainbow. The universe is probably going to teach them a lesson that they were too uneducated at the time to know. That wherever the empath pivots to is where things grow. We are the end of the rainbow. So good sharing energy with you guys today. Come back and join me next time. We'll continue to evolve together.